I tell you, war is nothing but the explosion of your suppressed sexuality. Listen to me carefully. A man who is sexually fulfilled, a man who knows the bliss of love, can never be turned into a soldier. He loves life too much to ever become a killer. But society needs you frustrated. It needs you miserable. Because only a frustrated heart can be filled with the poison of hate. They suppress the joy in your bedroom only to fill the graveyards on the battlefield. A lover is a rebel, and that is why the politician and the priest are both against your ecstasy. My beloved friends, I see you, and I see a world that is constantly on the verge of madness. You look around and you ask, why is there so much war? Why is there so much hate? Why are we as a species so obsessed with destruction? You look at the history books and they are nothing but a record of massacres, one after another, and you think perhaps it is human nature. I tell you, it is not. It is a manufactured insanity. To understand why the world is a battlefield, you must first understand what has been done to your most fundamental energy. You must look at sex not with the eyes of a moralist, not with the eyes of a priest, but with the eyes of a scientist of the soul. For thousands of years, the politician and the priest have been in the same business. It is a partnership, a mafia of the soul, designed to keep you in a state of perpetual inner conflict. Why? Because a man who is at peace with himself cannot be led to a slaughterhouse. A man who is overflowing with love cannot be turned into a soldier. Society needs you to be sexually frustrated. It is a requirement for the wheels of the establishment to keep turning. If you are sexually satisfied, if your life energy is flowing naturally, if you are in a state of deep orgasmic joy with existence, you become dangerous. You become a rebel. You become an individual. And the society, the state, the church, the corporation does not want individuals. It wants cogs in a machine. It wants manpower, which is just another word for dead power. Let us look deeply into this. What is sex? Sex is the very source of your life. It is the electricity of your being. It is the raw material from which love, prayer, and meditation are made. If you want to reach the temple of superconsciousness, sex is the first step of the ladder. But for 5,000 years, your leaders have been telling you that the first step is a sin. They have cut you off from your own roots. And when a tree is cut off from its roots, it begins to wither. When a human being is cut off from his or her sexual energy, that energy does not simply disappear. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed. When sex is suppressed, it becomes perverted. It turns into poison. It turns into anger, into greed, into a deep-seated desire to dominate and destroy. This is the secret of the politician. He knows that if he can keep you sexually hungry, he can use that hunger as a fuel. A frustrated man is a violent man. A man who cannot find love in his bed will try to find power in the world. He will seek to conquer nations because he has failed to conquer his own heart. He will seek to kill because he has forgotten how to create. I want to invite you into a deeper understanding today. This is not just a talk, it is an invitation to a revolution of consciousness. Before we go deeper into the mechanics of how this suppression works, I want to ask you to join our community here. If these words resonate with your soul, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We are building a space for rebels, for those who are tired of the old lies. By subscribing, you are not just following a channel, you are participating in a global movement to bring consciousness back to humanity. And if you feel that this message needs to reach more people, please like this video and share it with someone who is searching for their own truth. Your engagement helps the algorithm find those who are lost in the dark. Think about the soldier. Why is the soldier trained in such a way that he is kept away from women, away from love, away from any form of sexual intimacy? It is intentional. If a soldier is allowed to be in love, if he is allowed to feel the softness of a woman's body, the beauty of a sunset, or the thrill of a deep connection, he will look at his gun and he will laugh. He will say, "This is ridiculous. Why should I kill another man who is also capable of love? Why should I die for a flag when I could be living for a kiss?" A happy man is a bad soldier. A fulfilled man is the greatest enemy of the state because he is unmanipulatable. You cannot bribe a happy man with the promise of a heaven after death, because he is already in heaven here and now. You cannot frighten him with hell, because he has already dropped the hell of frustration. The priest tells you sex is a sin so that you will feel guilty. Guilt is the greatest chain ever forged. Once you are guilty, you are a slave. You go to the priest to be forgiven, and in exchange, you give him your soul, your freedom, and your money. The politician tells you that your country is in danger, that you must sacrifice your life for the motherland. But if you were not already full of suppressed rage, you would see through the lie. You would see that the motherland is just a map and the enemy is just another human being who has been told the same lies by his own politicians. The world is a madhouse because we have denied the very energy that makes us human. We have called sex dirty, and in doing so, we have made our entire existence filthy. In the PDF, From Sex to Superconsciousness, I explain that sex is the genesis of love. You cannot have a flower without the seed. If you hate the seed, if you hide the seed in a dark cellar and pretend it doesn't exist, you will never see the flower. The suppression of sex is the foundation of the war machine. Look at the dictators of history, Hitler, Stalin, Mao. They were all, in one way or another, deeply repressed people. They were afraid of love. They were afraid of the feminine. They replaced the bed with the battlefield. They replaced the embrace with the explosion. And you are following them. Every time you feel ashamed of your body, every time you judge someone else's desire, you are contributing to the energy of war. We must change this. We must move from lust to the Lord, as I have said. But you cannot move toward the Lord if you are fighting with lust. You must understand it. You must live it. You must transcend it. Transcendence is not suppression. Transcendence is when you have lived something so totally that you have gone beyond it. It is like a child playing with toys. When the child grows up, he doesn't renounce the toys. He simply loses interest in them because a higher joy has arrived. If you want to support this work and help us continue to bring these teachings to the world, consider clicking the join button on this channel. By becoming a member, you get access to exclusive content and you directly fund the translation and dissemination of these truths. For those who want to give a one-time gesture of gratitude, the Super Thanks feature is a beautiful way to say thank you for the light being shared here. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps us stand against the mafia of the soul and provide a platform for the new man to emerge. We are also making available a series of ebooks that delve deeper into these topics. You can find the links in the description. These books are tools for your liberation. They are not to be worshipped. They are to be used like hammers to break the walls of your conditioning. Now let us go further into how the society uses your frustration. Have you noticed that in countries where sex is most suppressed, violence is highest? Have you noticed that religions that preach the most about celibacy are often the ones plagued by the most horrific scandals? This is not a coincidence. When you block a river, it will eventually break the dam and cause a flood. That flood is what we call war. That flood is what we call crime. That flood is what we call the moral decay of society. But the society doesn't want to fix the cause, it only wants to manage the symptoms. It builds more prisons, more hospitals, more mental asylums. It hires more police and manufactures more bombs. But no amount of police can stop a man who is burning with suppressed energy. No amount of laws can create a peaceful society if the individuals in that society are at war with their own bodies. You have been taught to be a house divided against itself. One part of you wants to love, to touch, to be intimate. Another part of you, the ego, the moral self, created by your parents and teachers, says no, this is wrong, this is animalistic. And so you are in a constant state of friction. This friction creates heat, and that heat is what the politician directs toward the enemy. If you were a whole person, a rebel as I call it, you would be a spiritual phenomenon. A rebel is not a revolutionary. A revolutionary wants to change the government. A rebel changes himself. A revolutionary is part of the political world. A rebel is a spiritual phenomenon. The revolutionary wants to change the society, but society is just a word. Only the individual is real. If you change the individual, the society is bound to follow. I want you to sit with this for a moment. Close your eyes and feel your own energy. Is it flowing or is it blocked? Do you feel love for your body or do you feel a subtle sense of disgust? Remember, you are a part of existence. These trees, these stars, these rivers, they are all in a state of love. They are moving toward a grand merge. Only man has been taught to stand apart. Only man has been taught to be decent. And in that decency, he has become the most indecent animal on earth. I see your comments below, and I want to encourage you to share your thoughts. What has been your experience with this inner conflict? Have you felt the weight of society's expectations on your own joy? Let us talk. Let us create a dialogue here. Your comments are not just text, they are a part of our collective awakening. I read them and the community reads them. Let us support each other in this unlearning process. The mafia of the soul has succeeded for 5,000 years because they have kept us isolated. They have kept us afraid of each other. But here, in this digital space, we can begin to bridge that gap. We can begin to say, no more. We can reclaim our right to be happy, our right to be sexual, our right to be meditative. As we move into the next part of this journey, we will explore the specific ways in which the priests have poisoned the concept of love to keep you away from yourself. We will look at how the idea of sin was invented and how you can drop it in a single moment of awareness. There is no need for years of penance. There is only a need for a single moment of seeing the truth. Stay with me. Don't turn away. The truth can be uncomfortable, but it is the only thing that will set you free. If you haven't yet, this is the moment to share this video. Send it to a friend who is struggling with guilt. Send it to someone who is angry at the world. You might be the catalyst for their awakening. We are just beginning to scratch the surface. The depth of the manipulation is vast, but the power of your consciousness is even vaster. You are not a victim unless you choose to be. You are a potential Buddha, a potential Christ, a potential Zarathustra. But to realize that potential, you must first become a natural human being. You must stop being a Christian, a Hindu, or a Muslim. You must become a simple, breathing, loving inhabitant of this beautiful existence. In the next part, we will discuss the soldier as a sexually suppressed individual and why the military-industrial complex is actually a sexual repression complex. We will see how your bedroom and the battlefield are connected by a single invisible thread of energy. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that the lust inside each of us may become a ladder with which to reach the temple of love. Finally, I bow to the Supreme enthroned in all of you. This invisible thread between your bedroom and the battlefield is the most well-kept secret of human history. Have you ever wondered why the military is so obsessed with discipline? Why the soldier must wake up at a certain hour, dress in a certain way, and follow orders without a single why? It is because the moment a man asks why, he has regained his soul. And a man with his soul is of no use to the generals. But there is a deeper layer to this discipline: the control of sexual energy. In the barracks, in the trenches, in the long months of training, the soldier is kept in a state of artificial celibacy. This is not for his health. It is to build up a reservoir of frustration. When sex is denied, the body becomes tense, the mind becomes irritable, the heart becomes hard. This tension is the readiness that the military seeks. A man who has just come from the arms of his beloved is too soft, too relaxed, too content to want to bayonet a stranger. He has seen the face of God in his lover's eyes. How can he see an enemy in the eyes of another human being? The politician knows this, the priest knows this, therefore they have made love look like a weakness and war look like a noble duty. You see, if you are allowed to be naturally sexual, you become a yes sayer to life. You say yes to the sun, yes to the flowers, yes to the joy of being. But the society needs no sayers. People who are angry at life, people who are ready to say no to their own survival for the sake of an ideology. This is why the join button on this channel is so significant. It represents your yes to a different way of living. It is a commitment to supporting a vision where man is no longer a tool for destruction, but a temple for consciousness. When you support us through super thanks, you are directly helping to dismantle the old violent structures of the mind that have kept humanity in chains for millennia. The priest's role in this conspiracy is to provide the moral justification. He tells you that sex is lower, that it is animalistic, and that you should strive for higher things. But what are these higher things he speaks of? They are usually abstract concepts like sacrifice, martyrdom, and purity. He has turned your life energy into a commodity for the state. If you feel guilty about your natural desires, you will always be looking for a way to atone for your sins. And the society provides the perfect way to atone. Die for your country. Become a hero. Let the blood you spill wash away the shame of your sexuality. This is the most horrific deal ever made. You give them your life and they give you a medal. You give them your love and they give you a tombstone. And the priest stands over the grave and says, "He is with God now." I tell you, he was with God when he was in love. He was with God when he was dancing in the rain. He was with God when he was celebrating his own body. But the priest wants you to wait until you are dead to meet God, because a dead man doesn't ask for a refund. I want you to understand that this is not just about sex as a physical act. Sex is the primary form of your prana, your life force. When you suppress sex, you suppress your creativity, you suppress your intelligence, you suppress your capacity to feel. Have you noticed that the most moral people are often the most dull, the most lifeless? They have become like plastic flowers. They don't wither, but they also have no fragrance. They have no life. They are good, because they have no energy to be bad. But I want you to be good out of an overflow of energy, out of an overflow of love. If you are finding value in this exposure of the old lies, please take a moment to subscribe. This community is a laboratory for the new man. We are not here to create a new religion. We are here to destroy the very roots of religiousness that depend on guilt and fear. Share this video with those you know who are tired of the constant drumbeat of war and the suffocating weight of social expectations. Let them know that there is another way, the way of the rebel. In my book, The Rebel, which you can find in our ebook collection linked below, I talk about the difference between the revolutionary and the rebel. The revolutionary wants to change the world so he can feel better. The rebel changes himself, and as a result, the world becomes a different place for him. The revolutionary is still obsessed with the other, the enemy, the system, the government. The rebel is obsessed with his own consciousness. He knows that if the light is lit inside, the darkness outside doesn't matter. The mafia of the soul doesn't want rebels. It wants revolutionaries, because revolutionaries can be bought, they can be killed, or they can be turned into the new oppressors. Every revolution in history has ended in a new kind of tyranny. But a rebellion of consciousness cannot be suppressed. It is like the wind. You cannot catch it in a net. It is like the fragrance of a rose. You cannot imprison it. Let us look at how the idea of sin was manufactured. Why would anyone call the most natural act in existence a sin? Because it is the only act where you can forget your ego. In the moment of a deep orgasm, for few seconds, you are not there. There is only a flow of energy. The ego disappears, time disappears, and for a fleeting moment you touch the divine. This is the superconsciousness I speak of. The priest is terrified of this. If you can touch the divine through your own body, through your own love, you don't need the priest. You don't need the church. You don't need the temple. You have found the source within yourself. The priest's entire business depends on you being a beggar, standing outside the gates of heaven, waiting for him to let you in. If you find the key in your own heart, the priest is out of a job. So he calls the key sin. He tells you that the door you are trying to open is the door to hell. And you believe him. You have believed him for centuries. You have lived in a self-imposed prison because you were afraid that your own joy was a trap. I am here to tell you, your joy is the only truth. Your pleasure is the only prayer. Your ecstasy is the only evidence that God exists. This is why I say that war is suppressed sexuality. A man who has known the heights of ecstasy has no desire to destroy. He wants to create. He wants to paint. He wants to sing. He wants to garden. He wants to love. A man who is frustrated, who is told that his energy is bad, will find good reasons to be violent. He will fight for democracy, he will fight for communism, he will fight for the true religion. The labels change, but the energy is the same. Frustrated sexual energy looking for a release. Look at the world today. We have more morality than ever before, and we have more bombs than ever before. We have more priests than ever before, and we have more hatred than ever before. Does this not show you that the old way has failed? Does this not show you that morality is just a mask for pathology? We don't need more good people, we need more whole people. We need people who are integrated, people whose heads and hearts and bodies are all moving in the same direction. I invite you to use the Super Thanks feature as a way to join this rebellion. It is a way of saying that you value this information, that you value this perspective, and that you want to help us reach more people who are trapped in the mafia of the soul's net. Your support allows us to keep these discourses available to everyone, regardless of their ability to pay. But for those who can, your contribution is a beautiful act of sharing. Think about the children. From the moment they are born, we begin the process of suppression. We tell them, don't touch yourself there. Don't look at that. That is shameful. We create a split in their soul before they even know what a soul is. By the time they are teenagers, they are a bundle of nerves and hidden desires. And then we are surprised when they become violent, or when they turn to drugs, or when they become depressed. We have poisoned the well, and then we complain that the water is bitter. We must stop this. We must allow the child to be a natural being. We must allow the young man and the young woman to explore their energy without the shadow of the priest hanging over them. We must move from a culture of repression to a culture of expression. Only then will the wars stop. Only then will the soldiers lay down their arms. Only then will the politician find that he has no one to lead to the slaughterhouse. The mafia of the soul works through fear. They fear the new man because the new man is unpredictable. He cannot be categorized. He cannot be forced into a mold. He is a rebel, not because he is against the society, but because he is for himself. And being for oneself is the greatest rebellion possible in a world that wants you to be for the nation, for the church, or for the company. I want you to leave a comment below and tell me, where do you feel the suppression in your own life? Is it in your relationships? Is it in your work? Is it in your own thoughts? Let us shine a light on these dark corners together. When you speak your truth, you break the spell of the mafia. You realize that you are not alone. There are millions of us all over the planet who are waking up from this long nightmare. In our ebooks, I go into great detail about the techniques of meditation that can help you transform this sexual energy. It is not enough to just know it, you must do something about it. Meditation is the alchemy that turns the lead of lust into the gold of love. It is the process of watching your energy without judgment, without suppression, and without indulgence. Just watching. In that watching, a miracle happens. The energy begins to move upward. It moves from the sex center to the heart center, and from the heart center to the third eye, and finally to the 1,000-petaled lotus of the crown. But this journey starts at the first step. And the first step is the acceptance of your sexuality. If you reject the first step, you can never reach the last. The mafia of the soul has kept you standing on the ground, looking at the sky and telling you that the ladder is a sin. I am telling you, the ladder is your own body. Climb it with joy. Climb it with awareness. Climb it with love. As we continue this exploration in the next part, we will look at the specific psychological mechanisms that the mafia uses to turn your love into hate. We will see how the concept of family has been used as a factory for producing frustrated soldiers and compliant citizens. We will dive deeper into the priests and politicians' book to see the exact blueprint of our enslavement. Do not be afraid of the truth. The truth may destroy your illusions, but it will never destroy you. Only that which is false can be destroyed. That which is real is eternal. You are real. Your love is real. Your longing for freedom is real. I am here to support you in that longing. If you haven't yet, click that join button and become a part of our inner circle. Together, we are creating a new world, a world where sex is seen as a gift of existence and where love is the only law. Wait for the next part, where we will uncover the ultimate trick of the politician, how he uses your desire for heaven to create a hell on earth. We are moving deeper into the heart of the matter. Stay conscious, stay rebellious. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that the truth we discuss here becomes a living flame in your heart. How does the politician create this hell on earth? He does it by promising you a paradise elsewhere. This is the ultimate trick of the trade. If I can make you believe that your current suffering is a test from God, or a necessary sacrifice for the future glory of the nation, I have already enslaved you. You will endure any hardship, you will suppress any desire, and you will kill any enemy, because you are no longer living in the present. You are living in a dream called the future. The mafia of the soul knows that a man who lives in the now is impossible to control. A man who is enjoying his meal, enjoying his music, enjoying his love affair, in this very moment, has no interest in a heaven after death. He is already there. But the society depends on your discontent. It needs you to be hungry so that it can show you a carrot on a stick. That carrot is the great tomorrow, the classless society, or the kingdom of God. And to reach that tomorrow, you are told you must sacrifice your today. But I tell you, there is no tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. It is always today. And the only way to reach the divine is to dive deep into the present. Sex is one of the few windows into the present that nature has given you. In the moment of total sexual merging, time stops, the mind stops, the future vanishes. This is why the priest hates sex so much. It gives you a taste of freedom that makes his heaven look like a piece of cardboard. If you feel this freedom calling to you, if you feel the chains of tomorrow beginning to crack, I invite you to join our inner circle of rebels. Click the join button below. Your membership is not just a support, it is a declaration of your independence from the mafia of the soul. It is a way to ensure that this flame of truth continues to burn bright in a world that is trying to extinguish it. And for those who wish to offer a token of their love and gratitude, the Super Thanks option is a beautiful gesture that helps us keep this work alive and expanding. Let us talk about the family. The family is the smallest cell of the state and the church. It is the primary factory where the mafia begins its work. The parents, who are themselves victims of suppression, are used as the agents of the society. They love you, yes, but their love is poisoned by their own conditioning. They start teaching you what is right and what is wrong before you have even developed the capacity to breathe properly. They tell you that to be good is to be obedient, but obedience is a slow death. They tell you to control your desires, but control is just another name for suppression. By the time a child is 7 years old, his or her spontaneous joy has been replaced by a conscience. And what is this conscience? It is not your own voice, it is the voice of the priest and the politician speaking through your parents. It is an internal police force. You don't need a policeman on every street corner if you have one inside every head. This internal policeman is what makes you feel guilty when you feel sexual. It is what makes you feel dirty when you feel alive. And this guilt is the bridge to the battlefield. A man who feels dirty inside will naturally want to cleanse himself through some noble act of violence. He will want to destroy the evil he sees in others because he cannot face the sin he has been told is inside himself. This is the secret of the mafia of the soul. They create the disease and then they sell you the cure. They make you feel sick with guilt and then they offer you the medicine of national pride or religious dogma. But the medicine is more of the same poison. If you want to break free from this cycle, you must look at the source. You must read From Sex to Superconsciousness with an open heart. You must understand that your energy is sacred. There is nothing low about it. The low is only the beginning of the high. The roots are in the mud, but the lotus opens to the sun. I see many of you asking in the comments, how to start this journey? The first step is awareness. Just watch. Watch how you have been programmed. Watch the voice in your head that judges your desires. Don't fight it. If you fight it, you are still playing their game. Just observe it as if it belongs to someone else. In that observation, the voice loses its power. This is the essence of meditation. And if you want to go deeper, our e-books provide the maps for this inner territory. They are not doctrines, they are descriptions of the path. You can find the links in the description. By reading them, you are investing in your own liberation. You are saying no to the factory and yes to the forest. The politician needs you to be a soldier, even if you never wear a uniform. He needs you to be a soldier in your thinking, rigid, competitive, and ready to hate. He knows that if you are sexually fulfilled, you will lose the killer instinct. Have you ever noticed that after a deep, beautiful love-making session, you don't feel like fighting anyone? You feel a deep peace, a deep compassion for all living things. You feel a sense of oneness with the universe. This oneness is the greatest threat to the mafia. If you feel one with the universe, how can you be a German, an American, or an Indian? How can you believe in us versus them? The mafia depends on divisions. They thrive on the other. They need you to be a fragment, not a whole. A whole person is a holy person, and a holy person cannot be manipulated. The priest tells you that the flesh is the enemy of the spirit. This is the greatest lie ever told. The flesh is the visible part of the spirit, and the spirit is the invisible part of the flesh. They are one. To divide them is to create a schizophrenia in the human soul. And this schizophrenia is the foundation of all the wars and all the madness in the world. When you suppress the flesh, the spirit becomes a ghost. It becomes pale, weak, and lifeless. And when the spirit is weak, you are easily led. You become a follower. You look for a leader, a guru, a savior. But I tell you, no one can save you but yourself. No one can give you light. They can only point toward the sun. But first you must open your eyes. Open your eyes to the beauty of your own body. Open your eyes to the miracle of your own breath. Stop calling your desires sins. Start calling them energies. Energy is neutral. It can become a bomb, or it can become a poem. It can become a war, or it can become a prayer. It all depends on your awareness. If you are enjoying this discourse, please like the video and share it. This is how we bypass the gatekeepers of the mafia. Every share is a crack in the wall. Every like is a signal to the universe that you are ready for the truth. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to know, how has the internal policeman affected your life? Let us expose these mechanisms together. The mafia of the soul uses your fear of death to control your life. They tell you that if you follow their rules, you will live forever in a golden city. But I tell you, you are already eternal. You were never born, and you will never die. You are the ocean, temporarily appearing as a wave. Why worry about the wave when you are the ocean? But to realize this, you must live totally. You must burn your candle at both ends. As I often say, suppression is a way of not living. It is a slow suicide, and the politician loves people who are already half dead. They are much easier to march into a grave. They don't resist. They don't complain. They just follow the drumbeat. But you are here because you have heard a different drumbeat. You have heard the heartbeat of existence. You have felt the longing for something more than just surviving. You are longing for thriving. You are longing for ecstasy. And I am here to tell you that ecstasy is your birthright. It is not something you have to earn through suffering. It is something you have to uncover through awareness. The priests and politicians have buried your joy under mountains of morality, duty, and honor. We must dig it out. We must be the rebel. We must be the ones who say, I will not be a tool for your wars. I will not be a slave to your gods. I will be myself, totally and unapologetically. As we move toward the next part of this journey, we will look at the specific way in which marriage was designed to kill love and serve the state. We will see how the concept of possessiveness is a form of spiritual murder. And we will explore how we can create a world without soldiers, because we have created a world with lovers. Use the super thanks and the join button to help us keep this momentum. We are creating a bridge to a new humanity. Your support is the material for that bridge. Stay with me. The light is getting brighter, and the shadows of the mafia are beginning to flee. You are not a cog. You are a creator. You are not a sinner. You are a psalm. Remember that. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your life energy may flow like a river toward the ocean of super consciousness. Remember that this flow toward the ocean is only possible if you are not stagnant. And the greatest tool for creating stagnation in the human soul is the institution of marriage. I know this sounds radical to you. You have been told that marriage is holy, that it is made in heaven. But I tell you, marriage is a social engineering project designed by the politician and the priest to kill love. Love is a dangerous fire. Love is unpredictable. Love is a rebellion in itself because it follows no law. but its own heartbeat. And the mafia of the soul cannot control people who are in love. Why does the state care about your bedroom? Why does the law want to give you a license to love? Because once love is legalized, it is dead. It becomes a contract, it becomes a duty, it becomes a responsibility. And the moment love becomes a duty, it loses its fragrance, it loses its ecstasy, it becomes a repetitive, dull ritual. This is exactly what the society wants. It wants you to be stable. It wants you to be a responsible citizen, which is just a fancy way of saying a predictable slave. A man who is stuck in a dead marriage is a frustrated man. He is bored, he is angry, and he is looking for a release. This is where the battlefield comes in again. If you cannot find the thrill of life in your home, you will look for it in the destruction of others. The frustration of 1,000 dead marriages provides the energy for 1,000 wars. The politician knows that if you are happy in your love, you won't care about his glory. You won't care about his nationalism. You will be too busy living. But if you are miserable, you are the perfect candidate for his propaganda. If you feel the truth of this, if you see how your own joy has been sacrificed on the altar of social stability, I invite you to support our work. Click the join button below and become a member of this community. We are exploring a new way of being, where love is not a contract, but a continuous celebration. Your support through join or a super thanks helps us reach the millions who are currently trapped in the mafia's cage, thinking that their boredom is morality. Every contribution is a blow against the structures of suppression. Marriage was invented to ensure the legitimacy of children and the inheritance of property. It is about money and bloodlines, not about the soul. It turned the woman into a piece of property and the man into a provider. It destroyed the I-thou relationship and replaced it with I-it. You don't love your wife, she is your wife. You don't love your husband, he is your husband. The my and mine have killed the beauty of the now. And the priest is there to bless this murder. He stands there and says, "Until death do you part." He is making sure you are locked in the cage until the very end. Why? Because the family is the smallest unit of the church. If the family is stable, the church is stable. If people are allowed to love freely, to follow their energy, they will soon realize they don't need the church's moral guidance. They will have their own guidance, the guidance of joy. I want you to understand that love and possessiveness cannot exist together. Love says, I want you to be free. Possessiveness says, I want you to be mine. Love is a bird in the sky. Possessiveness is a bird in a cage. And a caged bird cannot sing the song of the divine. The frustration of this cage turns into the poison of war. Have you noticed that the most pro-war people are often the most pro-family values people? This is not a contradiction, it is a cause and effect. The family values they talk about are actually the values of suppression. In the book Priests and Politicians, we see how these two groups have divided the spoils. The priest controls your afterlife, and the politician controls your life, and both depend on you being sexually and emotionally starved. A starved person is a desperate person. A desperate person will do anything. He will march, he will kill, he will die, just to feel a moment of significance. The mafia gives you that significance through a uniform, a flag, or a religious dogma. But it is a false significance. True significance comes only from being totally alive in this moment. I see your comments, and I know many of you are worried, but also you ask, if there is no marriage, what will happen to the children? What will happen to society? I tell you, a society based on love will take much better care of children than a society based on duty. In a commune of rebels, every child is everyone's child. The child is not owned by the parents. He is not a project for their egos. He is allowed to be himself. And a society based on love will not need to be stable through force. It will be stable through flow. It will be a dynamic living organism, not a dead structure. If you want to delve deeper into these maps of the future, check out our ebooks in the description. They are the seeds of a new world. They are the blueprints for a humanity that has finally grown up and dropped its toys of war and its cages of marriage. The politician needs you to be frustrated so he can direct your energy toward the enemy. But who is the enemy? The enemy is just another man who is also bored in his marriage, also tired of his job, and also told by his priest that he is a sinner. If both of you were overflowing with the joy of superconsciousness, you would look at each other and laugh. You would see that the border between you is just a line on a map, and the flag you carry is just a piece of cloth. But to reach that laughter, you must first reclaim your sexual energy. You must move from the sex center to the heart center. You must allow the energy to rise. Suppression is like putting a lid on a boiling pot. Eventually, the part will explode. That explosion is what we call World War I, World War II, and now the threat of a third. The only way to stop the explosion is to turn down the heat of suppression and allow the steam to be used for something creative. We are building a bridge here. We are building a bridge from the old man to the new man. And every time you like this video, every time you share it, you are adding a stone to that bridge. Every time you leave a comment sharing your own struggle with these social cages, you are helping others realize they are not alone. Let us create a mafia of the soul in reverse, a commune of the conscious. Use the join button to become a pillar of this work. Use the super thanks to show your appreciation for these difficult truths. We are not here to make you feel comfortable. We are here to wake you up. And waking up can be a painful process, but it is the only way to avoid the ultimate pain of a wasted life. The mafia wants you to be afraid of sex because sex is the door to your power. If you know how to use your sexual energy to reach superconsciousness, you are a master of your own destiny. You don't need a leader. You don't need a god in the sky. You have found the light within. And a man with his own light is a threat to every politician and every priest on earth. They want you to stay in the dark, stumbling and asking them for the way. I tell you, there is no way outside of you. You are the way. You are the truth. You are the life. But that life has been buried under layers of decency, morality, and tradition. We must strip them away. We must become the rebel. Not a rebel against this or that, but a rebel for life, for love, and for consciousness. As we move into the next part, we will explore the psychology of the soldier in even greater depth. We will look at how the training of a soldier is actually a form of sexual castration. We will see how the priest and the drill sergeant are two sides of the same coin. And we will see how you can deprogram yourself from this military, industrial, spiritual complex. Stay with me. Don't let the internal policeman turn off this video. Listen with your heart, not just your ears. You are a part of a great turning point in history. You are the vanguard of a new consciousness. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your love may become so vast that it leaves no room for hate, and your joy so deep that it leaves no room for war. This military, industrial, spiritual complex is the most sophisticated machine ever built, and its primary fuel is your repressed desire. Let us look at the training of a soldier. What is it really? It is a process of systematic dehumanization. The first thing they do is take away your name and give you a number. Then they shave your head, they give you a uniform, and they make you move in synchronicity with thousands of others. Why? To kill the individual, to kill the rebel. Because an individual might feel, an individual might love, but a machine only obeys. And the core of this discipline is the control of your sexuality. The drill sergeant is a secular priest. He uses the same tools of shame, fear, and suppression. He shouts at you, he belittles your manhood, he creates a vacuum of love, and then he fills that vacuum with a singular obsession, the weapon. Have you ever noticed the language of the military? It is deeply pathologically sexual. They tell the soldier to love his rifle more than his girlfriend. They turn the gun into a phallic substitute. For a man who is denied the natural, soft, orgasmic release of love, the bang of a gun becomes his only climax. The destruction of a target becomes his only intimacy. This is a crime against humanity. We are taking the most beautiful energy, the energy that could become a Buddha, and we are turning it into a bullet. And we call this service to the nation. I tell you, it is service to death. It is the ultimate victory of the mafia of the soul. They have taken your life force and used it to end the life of another. If you feel the weight of this truth, if you realize that you have been trained to be a soldier in your own life, fighting your feelings, suppressing your joy, then it is time to deprogram. This is why I invite you to click the join button. We need a community of people who are committed to unlearning these violent patterns. Our members get access to deeper insights into this deprogramming process, moving away from the soldier mindset and toward the meditator mindset. And if you find that these words are helping you breathe a little easier, the Super Thanks feature is a way to support the continued broadcasting of this message. We are funded by seekers, not by the mafia. The priest and the drill sergeant are two sides of the same coin. The priest tells you that the body is unholy, and the drill sergeant tells you the body is a weapon. Neither of them sees the body as a temple. Neither of them sees the body as a flow of divine energy. They both want to use you. The politician wants your body for the war, and the priest wants your soul for the church. And between the two of them, you are lost. You become a ghost in a machine. This is why the new man, the rebel, must first be a man of the body, You must reclaim your right to feel pleasure. You must reclaim your right to be soft. Society tells the man don't cry and tells the woman don't be sexual. Both are forms of castration. When a man cannot cry, he cannot love. When a woman cannot be sexual, she cannot be whole. We have created a world of half people, and half people are always looking for the other half to kill. If you are a whole person, you are sufficient unto yourself. You don't need to conquer anything. The desire to conquer is a sign of inner poverty. The politician is the most poor man on earth because he needs to conquer the whole world to feel significant. The truly rich man is the one who has conquered his own unconsciousness. He has turned his sex into superconsciousness. In my book, The Rebel, which is available in the ebook links below, I describe the quality of this new humanity. The rebel is not someone who fights others. He is someone who has stopped fighting himself. He has declared a ceasefire in the inner war between the saint and the sinner. He has accepted both, and in that acceptance, both have been transformed. I urge you to get these books not as a duty, but as a gift to your own soul. They are tools for the ultimate rebellion, the rebellion against your own conditioning. The mafia of the soul uses the word honor to hide the stench of death. They tell you it is an honor to die for your country. But I ask you, what could be more honorable than living for existence? What could be more sacred than being a channel for love? They give you a medal to wear on your chest. Right over the heart they have hardened. That medal is a seal. It says, "This heart is now closed. This man is now property." We must break these seals. We must open our hearts again. And that starts with accepting the energy that starts below the heart, the sexual energy. In the PDF From Sex to Superconsciousness, I explain that sex is the downward flow of the same energy, that when moving upward becomes prayer. You cannot have the upward flow if you have blocked the source. You are like a man trying to have a fountain without any water in the pipes. You end up with a dry, dusty religiousness that smells of the grave. If you are tired of the dust, if you are hungry for the water of life, leave a comment below. Let us know that you are ready to stop being a soldier. Tell us, what was the moment you realized that the morality you were taught was actually a cage? Sharing your story is an act of courage. It is the first step of the rebel. When you speak your truth, you give others the permission to speak theirs. And please share this video. The mafia has the mainstream media, they have the schools, they have the churches. We only have each other. We have the like button, the share button, and the power of truth. When you share this, you are participating in a global satsang, a gathering of truth seekers. You are helping to bypass the censors of the soul. The politician is terrified of a sexually fulfilled population. Think about it. If people were happy, if they were in love, if they were enjoying their bodies and their creativity, who would go to the front lines? Who would work 40 hours a week in a job they hate just to buy things they don't need? The entire consumerist military complex would collapse. It is built on your hunger. It is built on your sense of not being enough. The mafia tells you that you are a sinner, so that you will buy their salvation. They tell you that you are incomplete, so that you will buy their products. They tell you that you are in danger, so that you will buy their wars. But I tell you, you are perfect as you are. You are a masterpiece of existence. You don't need to be saved, you only need to be awakened. This awakening is what we mean by superconsciousness. It is the state where you are so full of light that no lie can survive in your presence. It is the state where you are so full of love that no enemy can exist in your world. This is the only way to end war. You cannot end war by protest. You cannot end war by politics. You can only end war by becoming a person who is incapable of war. And a person who is incapable of war is a person who has made peace with his own sexuality. He has seen that sex is not sin, but the very play of God. He has seen that the body is not a trap, but a temple. He has moved from the friction of lust to the harmony of love, and from the harmony of love to the silence of meditation. Use the join button to help us build the oasis where this new humanity can grow. Your monthly support allows us to create more of these microscopes into the human soul. And the super thanks is your way of saying that this specific message has touched you. It is a beautiful energy exchange. You give us the means to continue, and we give you the truth that the mafia tries to hide. The mafia of the soul wants you to be serious. Seriousness is a sickness. It is the shadow of the ego. The rebel is a man of laughter. He laughs at the priests. he laughs at the politicians, and most importantly, he laughs at himself. Laughter is the most spiritual quality because only a man of consciousness can see the absurdity of the world. The idea that we are killing each other over lines in the dirt is absurd. The idea that we are suppressing our most natural joy because of books written thousands of years ago is absurd. When you see the absurdity, you are free. The mafia cannot control a man who is laughing. They can only control a man who is afraid. So I ask you to drop the fear, drop the gravity. Come back to the innocence of the child, but with the awareness of the sage. Reclaim your energy, let it flow, let it dance. If it wants to be sexual, let it be sexual, with total awareness. If it wants to be creative, let it be creative. If it wants to be silent, let it be silent. But don't let the mafia tell you what it should be. In the next part, we will discuss the end of the priest and how the disappearance of the priest is the beginning of God. We will see how religion has been the greatest barrier to religiousness. And we will look at how we can create a world where the only temple is your own heart. Stay with me. We are moving into the final stages of this deconstruction. The old world is falling away and a new world is being born within you. If you haven't yet, check out the ebooks in the description to prepare your mind for this transition. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your laughter may become so loud that it wakes up the whole world, and your love so bright that it dissolves the very concept of war. This is the beginning of the end for the priest and the beginning of your own divinity. You see, the priest and the politician are not just outside of you, they have become your inner architecture. When I say the disappearance of the priest is the beginning of God, I am not talking about a God who sits on a throne in the clouds. That God is a fiction created by the mafia of the soul to make you feel like an orphan. I am talking about godliness, a quality of being, a fragrance of silence, a dance of light within your own heart. The priest has to go because he stands right in the doorway. He claims to be the mediator, the middleman. But in the world of the spirit, there can be no middleman. Either you know or you don't know. No one can know on your behalf. The politician and the priest have a very old contract. The politician protects the priest's property and gives him tax exemptions. And in return, the priest tells the people that the politician is appointed by God. They scratch each other's backs while they pick your pockets and suck your life energy. This energy, which should have been your sexual joy, your creative fire, and your meditative silence, is diverted into their institutions. They have turned religion into a business, and in doing so, they have killed religiousness. Religiousness is a state of mind. Religion is just a set of rules and a collection of superstitions. If you are ready to drop the rules and find the reality, this is the time to hit that subscribe button. We are not a church. We are a gathering of individuals who are reclaiming their souls. By joining this channel, you are aligning yourself with the frequency of freedom. And if you want to support this rebellion against the mafia, I encourage you to click the join button. Our members are the backbone of this work, helping us bypass the traditional systems of control. For those who feel an immediate surge of gratitude for these insights, the Super Thanks feature is your way of pouring your energy back into this fountain. Your support ensures that the priest's monopoly on the truth is broken forever. The priest is a parasite. He lives on your guilt. If you are not a sinner, he has no purpose. So he must invent sins where none exist. He has called the most natural act, the act that brought you into this world, the original sin. Can you see the absurdity? The very act of creation is labeled a crime by the creators of religion. This is how they create the soldier. A man who feels his very birth is a sin will never feel worthy of peace. He will always feel he has something to prove. He will try to earn his worthiness by killing the infidels or the enemies of the state. The battlefield is the final destination for the guilt that begins in the church. When the priest blesses the tanks, when he sprinkles holy water on the fighter jets, he is completing the circle of the mafia. He is giving a divine seal of approval to mass murder. And he can do this because he has already murdered your capacity to love. A man who loves his own body, who loves his lover, who loves the earth, would look at a tank and see only a monstrous piece of junk. He would look at a holy war and see only a holy insanity. But the mafia wants you to be insane. They want you to believe that killing for peace is possible, just as they want you to believe that suppressing for purity is possible. Neither is true. You cannot reach peace through war and you cannot reach purity through suppression. You only reach pathology. Look at the history of the saints. Many of them were simply repressed people who went mad. They saw visions because they were starving their bodies. They heard voices because they were hallucinating from lack of sleep and sex. And the mafia held them up as examples. They told you, look, this is what a holy man looks like. Emaciated, miserable, and joyless. I want you to look at the trees. Are they emaciated? Look at the peacocks. Are they joyless? Look at the stars. Are they trying to be moral? Existence is a celebration. It is an overflow. The mafia has tried to put existence into a straitjacket, and they have used the priest as the tailor. But the straitjacket is tearing. People are waking up. You are waking up. In my book, Priests and Politicians, I lay out the blueprint of this conspiracy. You can find it in the ebook section linked below. Read it and you will see how every aspect of your life, from your education to your marriage to your death, has been designed to keep you a consumer of their lies. These books are not just information, they are a form of meditation. They help you deconstruct the internal priest who is always whispering, "Thou shalt not," in your ear. The heart is the only temple. It doesn't need a roof, it doesn't need a priest, and it certainly doesn't need a collection plate. The heart only needs one thing: your presence. But you are never home. You are always in the head, worrying about the future the politician has promised you. Or you are in the past the priest has made you feel guilty about. Reclaiming your sexual energy is the way to come back to the heart. When you allow your energy to flow, it naturally seeks the heart center. The sex center is the beginning. The heart center is the middle. And the crown center, the Sahasrar, is the end. It is one single energy moving upward. Suppression is like putting a block at the very bottom. When the energy is blocked at the sex center, it can never reach the heart. And without the heart, you are a cold, calculating machine, the perfect soldier. A soldier must be heartless. If he had a heart, he would see the enemy's mother. He would see the enemy's children. He would see the enemy's humanity. To make a man a killer, you must first make him heartless. And to make him heartless, you must first make him sexually suppressed. If you are finding these connections startling, leave a comment. Tell me, have you ever felt that your morality was actually making you more cold, more judgmental, more angry. Let's talk about the price we have paid for being good in the eyes of the mafia. Your engagement helps this video reach those who are still trying to be saints while their souls are screaming for life. And please share this message. The priest has a megaphone in every village. We have you. The mafia uses the concept of God to keep you from godliness. God is a noun, something dead, something fixed. Godliness is a verb, a living process. You cannot find God, but you can be godly. You can be godly when you paint, when you cook, when you love, when you sit in silence. Godliness is the quality of your awareness. But the priest tells you that God is a person who will be angry if you don't follow the rules. He has projected his own ego onto the universe. He has made God in his own image, a jealous, vengeful, and petty tyrant. Why? Because if God is a tyrant, then the priest is the tyrant's secretary. He gets his power from the big boss in the sky. If you drop the idea of a personal God, the priest loses his authority. He becomes just another man in a funny hat. And if you drop the idea of sin, the politician loses his soldier. The whole structure of war depends on you feeling that your life is not enough, that you must sacrifice it for something higher. But I tell you, there is nothing higher than life. Life is the ultimate. There is nothing beyond life. There is only deeper into life. Meditation is not a way to escape life. It is a way to dive into the very heart of it. And you cannot dive if you are carrying the heavy stones of suppression and guilt. You must drop them. You must stand naked before existence, naked of your conditioning, naked of your labels, naked of your morality. This is the path from sex to superconsciousness. It is a path of total acceptance. When you accept your sexuality, the friction stops. When the friction stops, the energy is no longer wasted in conflict. It begins to rise. It becomes a cool breeze. It becomes a light. It becomes a silence that no war can disturb. Use the super thanks and the join button to be a part of this global shift. We are not just making videos, we are creating a rebel frequency. Your support allows us to maintain our independence. We don't want sponsors who have their own agendas. We want a community that has its own vision. The mafia of the soul is ancient, but it is also fragile. It depends on your belief. The moment you doubt, the moment you ask why, their power begins to crumble. They have survived for 5,000 years because people were too afraid to ask why. They were afraid of the hell the priest promised, or the prison the politician threatened. But once you have tasted even a single moment of meditative joy, you are no longer afraid. You know that no one can take your joy away. No one can imprison your consciousness. The soldier is a man who has been robbed of his joy. The priest is the thief. The politician is the fence who sells the stolen goods. I am here to help you get your joy back, not as a gift from me, but as a realization of your own nature. It was always yours. You just let them convince you it was a sin. As we move toward the next part, we will explore the new man in detail. We will see how a world without priests and politicians would function. We will look at the concept of Zorba the Buddha, the man who is grounded in the earth, enjoying all the pleasures of the senses, yet whose head is in the stars, enjoying all the silence of the soul. This is the only man who can stop the wars. This is the only man who is truly free. Stay with me. The dawn is coming. The long night of the mafia is coming to an end. Every word we speak here is a ray of that dawn. Every time you listen with awareness, you are bringing that dawn closer. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are on very kind. I desire that you may become so whole that the mafia finds no crack in you to enter. I bow to the divine within you, waiting to be lived, waiting to be loved. This Zorba the Buddha is the only hope for the survival of this planet. For too long, the mafia of the soul has kept the world divided between the materialist and the spiritualist. They told the materialist, the Zorba, that he is just a body, that there is no soul, so he should just eat, drink, and be merry. But his merriment is shallow because it lacks the depth of the divine. And they told the spiritualist, the Buddha, that the body is an illusion, that sex is a sin, and that he should renounce the world. But a Buddha without a Zorba is a ghost, a pale shadow of a man who has no roots in the earth. The new man, the rebel, is a synthesis. He is a man who can enjoy the finest wine, the most beautiful music, and the most ecstatic love-making, and yet remain as silent and as detached as a mountain peak. He is a man who knows that the juice of life comes from the earth, but the light comes from the stars. When you are a Zorba the Buddha, the politician cannot use you. Why? Because you are already fulfilled. You don't need his promises of a better future because your present is already overflowing. You don't need his wars to feel powerful because your own energy is the greatest power in the universe. If you are beginning to feel the pulse of this new humanity within yourself, then you are a part of our tribe. I invite you to click the join button. By becoming a member, you are helping us create a global laboratory for the new man. We are not just talking about a theory, we are practicing a way of life that is beyond the reach of the priest and the politician. And if this vision of Zorba the Buddha feels like the home you've been looking for, a super thanks is a wonderful way to keep this transmission going. We are building a new world, one conscious individual at a time. Think about a world where every man and woman is a Zorba the Buddha. Would there be any room for a general? Would there be any room for a pope? Of course not. A general is only needed when there are frustrated men ready to kill. A pope is only needed when there are guilty souls ready to be saved. In a world of lovers and meditators, these professions would simply disappear. They would be seen as historical curiosities, like the witch doctors of the past. The politician needs you to be a fragment so he can fit you into his puzzle. He needs you to be a worker, a soldier, or a taxpayer. He doesn't want you to be a human being because a human being is too big for his tiny political games. But the rebel refuses to be a fragment. The rebel says, I am the whole. I am the body and the soul. I am the sex and the superconsciousness, and I will not sacrifice one for the other. This is the message of the Rebel book, which you can find in the links below. It is a manual for those who are brave enough to stand alone. Most people are afraid to be themselves because they are afraid of being rejected by the mafia. But I tell you, it is better to be rejected by the whole world and be in tune with yourself than to be accepted by the whole world and be a stranger to your own soul. Your ebook purchase is not just a transaction. It is an investment in your own courage. It is a tool to help you sharpen your awareness so that you can see the invisible threads of the mafia and cut them one by one. The mafia of the soul thrives on your seriousness. They have made God very serious. They have made religion very serious. They have made life a grim duty. But look at existence. Does a rose look serious? Does a butterfly look like it's following a moral code? Existence is play, what I call Leela, and sex is the most fundamental form of this play. When you suppress sex, you lose the capacity to play. You become heavy. You become responsible. And a heavy, responsible man is a man who can be pushed into a war. A man who can play. A man who can laugh. A man who can love is light. He is like a bird on the wing. You cannot catch him. You cannot draft him into your armies. He will simply laugh and say, I have better things to do. I have a sunset to watch. I have a lover to kiss. I have a meditation to dive into. This lightness is the ultimate protection against the mafia. I see your comments below, and I am heartened by the number of you who are starting to see through the nationalistic and religious traps. Tell me, how has your life changed since you started valuing your own joy over the duty imposed by society? Are you finding it easier to say no to the voices of the past? Let us share these victories. Every time one of us breaks a chain, the whole mafia structure weakens. And please, share this video far and wide. The politician wants to control the narrative, but in the age of the internet, the narrative belongs to the conscious individuals. When you share this, you are spreading a virus of consciousness. It is the only virus that heals. It is the only virus that brings life. The transition from sex to superconsciousness is the transition from needing to overflowing. In sex, you are often trying to get something from the other. You are using the other as a means to an end. But as your awareness grows, sex becomes love. In love, you are sharing. You are not trying to get. You are just happy to give. And as love deepens, it becomes prayer. In prayer, you don't even need the other. You are so full of your own light that you are in a constant state of communion with the whole of existence. The mafia wants to keep you at the very bottom level, the level of needing and frustration. They want you to use sex as a drug to forget your misery, and then they want you to feel guilty for using the drug. It is a perfect trap, but meditation is the way out. Meditation is not having sex. Meditation is bringing the light of awareness into every act, including sex. When you are aware in the sexual act, the quality of the energy changes. It becomes more refined. It becomes more silent. It becomes a bridge to the divine. Use the join button to access our guided meditations and discourses that focus specifically on this transformation of energy. We are moving from the biological to the spiritual. It is the greatest journey a human being can take, and your super thanks helps us keep the mafia at bay while we provide the maps for this journey. The politician tells you that you are a citizen. The priest tells you that you are a believer. I tell you that you are a God in hiding. There is no other God but your own consciousness, and that God is not found in a temple. It is found in the depths of your own silence. But you cannot find that silence if you are at war with your own body. You must make peace with the animal within you before the God within you can be born. The animal is not bad. The animal is innocent. Your sexual desire is as innocent as the hunger of a lion or the blooming of a flower. It is only the mafia that has called it dirty. Once you drop that judgment, the energy is free to move. It is no longer stuck in the sex center. It begins to rise like a fountain. And when that fountain reaches your heart, you will know what love is. And when it reaches your head, you will know what truth is. A world of such people would be a world of peace, not the peace of the graveyards that the politicians talk about, but the peace of a living, dancing forest. A world where there are no borders, because the heart knows no boundaries. A world where there are no weapons, because love is the only power. This is not a utopia, it is a possibility. But it depends on you. It depends on your courage to be a rebel. As we move into the final part of this journey, we will look at the universal love that arises when sex has been fully integrated and transcended. We will see how this love is the ultimate no to the war machine. And we will conclude with a call to action for the new humanity. Stay with me for the final steps. The mafia is watching, but they are powerless against the truth. You are the truth. You are the light. You are the revolution. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that you may become so full of life that death itself becomes a celebration. Finally, I bow to the Supreme enthroned in all of you. This transition from the biological to the spiritual is not a transition from love to no love, but from exclusive love to universal love. And here lies another secret that the mafia of the soul has hidden from you. Exclusive love, The I love only you kind of love is the foundation of all the hate in the world. When you say to someone, I love only you, you are implicitly saying to the rest of the world, I don't care about you. You are creating a small island of affection in a vast ocean of indifference. And that indifference is easily turned into hostility by the politician. Exclusive love is a form of possessiveness, and possessiveness is a form of war. When you own a person, you have to defend that person against others. You create walls, you create boundaries, and those boundaries in your personal life are exactly what give rise to the boundaries between nations. A man who is obsessed with my wife, my children, and my house will easily be manipulated into fighting for my country. The minus is the disease. The mafia wants you to stay in this minus because it keeps you small, fearful, and defensive. But as you move from sex to superconsciousness, the quality of your love changes. It becomes like the light of the sun. It shines on everyone without conditions, without exclusions. It is not that you love your partner less, it is that you love existence more. Your love becomes a fragrance that you carry with you wherever you go. You don't do love, you are love. And a man who is love cannot be a soldier. He cannot see an enemy because his love doesn't recognize borders. If you are beginning to feel this expansion of your heart, if you are tired of the small, suffocating walls of exclusive minus, then I invite you to join our global family. Click the join button below. We are creating a space where the individual is celebrated, not as a separate ego, but as a unique expression of the whole. Your membership helps us spread the message that a world without borders starts with a heart without boundaries. And for those who want to support this vision with a single act of generosity, the Super Thanks feature is a beautiful way to say yes to a love that includes the whole of existence. The politician is terrified of this universal love. If you love the whole earth, if you feel a connection to the trees in the Amazon, the people in Japan, and the stars in the sky, how can he convince you that your nation is superior? How can he convince you to drop a bomb on a city full of others when you no longer see anyone as an other? Universal love is the ultimate no to the war machine. It is the only force that can truly dismantle the military-industrial complex. But this love cannot be forced. You cannot try to love everyone. That would just be another moral duty imposed by the priest, and it would be just as fake as the old morality. This love is a byproduct of meditation. It is a byproduct of transforming your sexual energy. When the energy reaches the heart, it naturally becomes love. When it reaches the third eye, it naturally becomes compassion. When it reaches the crown, it naturally becomes a universal blessing. This is the alchemy I describe in From Sex to Superconsciousness. You can find the deeper maps of this process in our ebook collection, linked below. These books are designed to help you navigate the inner territory where the mafia has placed so many landmines of guilt and fear. They are your guidebooks for the journey from the mud of the sex center to the lotus of the crown. The priest tells you that to reach the divine, you must turn your back on the human. He tells you that to love God, you must stop loving people. This is the ultimate division. I tell you, there is no God separate from people, separate from trees, separate from the very energy of sex. To love the Creator, you must love the creation. And you must love it totally, not just the pretty parts, but the raw parts too. The soldier is a man who has been taught to love a concept, the motherland, instead of real, living, breathing human beings. It is easy to kill for a concept. It is easy to die for a concept. But it is impossible to kill a person you have looked at with the eyes of love. The mafia replaces the real with the abstract. They replace the woman with the Virgin Mary. They replace the earth with the flag. They replace love with duty. We must reverse this. We must come back to the real. We must look at each other not as Germans or Americans, not as Christians or Muslims, but as fellow travelers on this beautiful, tiny planet. We must realize that our sexual energy is the same energy that moves the planets. It is the great life force. When you respect your own energy, you respect all life. And when you respect all life, war becomes an impossibility. I see your comments and I hear your frustration with the world leaders. But remember, the leaders are only there because of the followers. They are a reflection of your own internal suppression. A society of rebels wouldn't need a leader. A society of meditators wouldn't need a boss. We would have coordinators, not commanders. We would have guides, not governors. Use the join button to help us fund the creation of communities where this leaderless way of living can be practiced. We are supporting projects that aim to bring meditation into everyday life, breaking the grip of the mafia on our daily existence. Your super thanks is a direct contribution to this alternative future. It is a way of putting your energy where your heart is. The mafia of the soul uses your desire for significance to lead you to war. They tell you that you are part of something great, a great empire, a great religion, a great history. But I tell you, you are already part of something infinitely greater. You are a part of the universe. You are a part of the infinite. You don't need a flag to give you significance. Your very existence is your significance. The fact that you can breathe, that you can love, that you can be aware is the greatest miracle in existence. But you have been made to feel like a nobody. And a nobody is always looking for a somebody to follow. The politician says, "Follow me and I will make you a hero." The priest says, "Follow me and I will make you a saint." I say, follow your own awareness and you will find that you are already the divine. When you find your own divinity, the desire to be a hero or a saint disappears. These are just ego trips. A hero is someone who kills others or gets killed himself for a lie. A saint is someone who kills his own desires for a lie. The rebel is someone who lives for the truth. And the truth is that you are a whole, complete, and beautiful being right now. Leave a comment and tell me, how does it feel to realize that you don't need anyone's permission to be happy? How does it feel to know that your sexual energy is not a sin but a gift? Let us celebrate this liberation together. Your engagement is a signal that the mafia's hold on the human mind is elapsing. Every like, every comment, every share is a ripple in the ocean of consciousness. The mafia wants you to be afraid of the new man because he is beyond their control. They will call him immoral, godless, and dangerous. And he is dangerous to them. He is dangerous to their power, dangerous to their banks, dangerous to their armies. But to the earth, he is a blessing. He is the one who will clean the oceans, who will protect the forests, and who will finally silence the guns. As we move toward the next part, we will discuss the technology of inner transformation. We will look at how you can practically move your energy from the sex center to the heart and beyond. We will see that meditation is not a serious practice but a playful exploration of your own being. Stay with me. The journey from sex to superconsciousness is the most exciting adventure possible. It is the only adventure that truly matters. Don't let the mafia distract you with their news, their politics, and their crisis. The only real crisis is your lack of awareness, and the only real solution is your awakening. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your love may become so vast that it covers the whole earth, and your peace so deep that it stops every war in its tracks. Finally, I bow to the Supreme enthroned in all of you. And how do we practically make this transition? How do we move from the mud to the lotus? People often ask me, Osho, you talk about transformation, but what is the how? Give us a technique. I tell you, the greatest technique is not a technique at all. It is a shift in your vision. It is called witnessing. In the East, we call it Sakshi. It means becoming an observer of your own energy without any judgment, without any pro or anti attitude. When you feel sexual desire, what is your usual reaction? Either you indulge in it like an animal, or you suppress it like a priest. Both are ways of being unconscious. The animal is unconscious in his indulgence. The priest is unconscious in his fight. Neither is aware of the energy itself. The mafia of the soul wants you to stay in this duality of indulge or suppress, because as long as you are swinging between these two poles, you are under their thumb. The third way, the way of the rebel, is to watch. When the desire arises, don't call it names. Don't say it is bad or sinful. Don't even say it is good. Just watch it. Feel the vibration in your body. Feel the heat. Feel the tension. Become a scientist of your own inner world. This is the true science of the soul. And just as science has transformed the outer world, this inner science of witnessing will transform your inner world. If you are finding these practical insights into the how of transformation helpful, please take a moment to subscribe. This channel is more than just a source of information. It is a school for the soul. By hitting that notification bell, you ensure that you don't miss a single step on this path to liberation. And if you want to dive deeper into the specific methods of witnessing and meditation, I encourage you to click the join button. Our members receive exclusive access to guided meditations that help bridge the gap between your daily life and your highest potential. Your membership is what allows us to keep this inner science available to everyone. When you watch your sexual energy, something miraculous happens. If you watch a thief, he cannot steal. If you watch a flame, you see its nature. When you watch your sexual energy with total awareness, the energy begins to change its quality. It is no longer a blind driving force that pushes you toward another. It becomes a light that illuminates your own being. This is what I mean by moving from lust to the large. The energy doesn't change, you change in relation to the energy. The mafia is terrified of this. They want you to be a victim of your biology so that they can offer you their theology. But a man of awareness is beyond biology and theology. He is a law unto himself. He doesn't need a commander to tell him when to fight, and he doesn't need a priest to tell him when to pray. His whole life is a prayer because his whole life is lived in awareness. In the PDF, From Sex to Superconsciousness, I explain that awareness is the bridge. Without awareness, sex is just a release, a sneezing of the genital organs. It gives you a little relief from tension, but it doesn't give you a transformation. But with awareness, sex becomes a door to the infinite. It becomes a meditation. And when sex becomes a meditation, the soldier within you dies forever. You cannot kill in awareness. You cannot hate in awareness. I see many of you sharing your struggles in the comments, and I want you to know that your struggles are the labor pains of a new consciousness. Don't be discouraged. The mafia has had thousands of years to program you. It takes a little time to deprogram. But every moment of awareness is a victory. Leave a comment and share. Have you tried to simply watch your emotions instead of acting on them? What happens? Let us build a collective wisdom here. And for those who want to support the expansion of this work, a super thanks is a beautiful way to show your appreciation. It helps us reach more people who are currently lost in the mafia's maze. The politician knows that an aware population is an uncontrollable population. That is why the education system is designed to make you smart but not aware. They teach you how to calculate, how to compete, how to serve the machine, but they never teach you how to sit in silence. They never teach you how to watch your own mind. They want you to be outward oriented, always looking for a goal, always looking for an enemy, always looking for a better tomorrow. But the rebel is inward oriented. He knows that the only revolution is the internal one. And this internal revolution starts with the acceptance of your sexuality. If you are at war with your own body, you are already a soldier. You are already part of the war machine. Peace is not something that happens between nations. It is something that happens within you when you stop fighting your own nature. This is why I say no sex equals war. I am not saying you should have more sex. I am saying you should have more unsuppressed and aware energy. A sexually frustrated society is a pressure cooker. It must find an outlet, and the most convenient outlet provided by the mafia is war. War is a collective orgasm of destruction. It is a way for a repressed population to feel alive through the thrill of death. We must replace this thrill of death with the ecstasy of life. And the ecstasy of life is found in the transformation of your basic energy. Our ebooks linked in the description provide the step-by-step guidance for this transformation. They are not holy books to be put on a shelf. They are manuals for the new man. When you purchase them, you are taking your education into your own hands. You are saying no to the state-sponsored ignorance and yes to your own intelligence. The mafia of the soul uses your fear of being different to keep you in line. They want you to be a sheep in their flock. But I say, be a lion. A lion doesn't follow. A lion walks alone. The path to superconsciousness is a lonely path, but it is the only path that leads to true freedom. And the beauty is, when you are truly alone in your awareness, you find that you are connected to the whole. The separateness was a trick of the ego. The oneness is the reality of the soul. The priest will tell you that this is selfish. He wants you to be selfless, which usually means soulless. He wants you to serve the church, the poor, or the cause. But how can you serve anyone if you don't even know who you are? How can you love anyone if you are full of self-hatred and guilt? I tell you, be selfish. Find your own joy first. Find your own light first. Only a man who has his own light can help others see. Only a man who is overflowing with his own love can truly share. Use the join button to become a pillar of this light. We are creating a commune of consciousness that transcends all physical borders. Your support through join or super thanks is what keeps this frequency clear and strong. We are not interested in the mafia's money. We are interested in your energy. The transition from sex to superconsciousness is the birth of the Buddha within you. And just as a child is born from the womb, the Buddha is born from the Jhorba. Don't try to kill the Jhorba. Let the Jhorba be the foundation. Let your earthly joys, your physical pleasures, and your sexual energy be the soil in which the lotus of consciousness can grow. If the soil is rich, the flower will be magnificent. As we move toward the next part, we will explore the end of nationalism and how a sexually fulfilled and meditative humanity will naturally dissolve all borders. We will see how the concept of the nation state is a psychological disease that depends on your inner conflict. And we will look at how we can create a global village based on love and awareness. Stay with me. The mafia is losing its grip. The walls of the prison are falling. You are not a soldier, you are a psalm. You are not a sinner, you are a celebration. Remember that as you move through your day. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your awareness may become a sword that cuts through all the lies of the mafia, and your love a balm that heals the wounds of the world. Finally, I bow to the Supreme enthroned in all of you. This is where the collective ego, which we call nationalism, becomes the most dangerous poison in the human soul. The mafia of the soul has worked very hard to convince you that you are a part of a nation, a race, or a culture. But have you ever seen a nation? You have seen people. You have seen trees. You have seen mountains. But you have never seen a nation. A nation is a fiction, a line drawn on a piece of paper by politicians to divide the earth and control the human mind. And this fiction is maintained through your inner fragmentation. A man who is sexually suppressed is a man who is constantly looking for an identity, because he has lost touch with his own center. He is desperate to belong to something bigger. He becomes a German, an American, an Indian, or a Japanese. This identification gives him a false sense of security, a false sense of belonging. And the politician uses this identification to lead him to war. Nationalism is nothing but a collective name for your fear of the other. And that fear is rooted in the fact that you have been taught to fear your own desires, your own energy. If you are beginning to see through this grand illusion of nationalism, I invite you to join our movement of global citizens. Click the join button below. We are not just creating a channel, we are creating a nationless space. A space where you are simply a human being, a part of the whole existence. Your membership helps us challenge the old divisive structures of the mafia. And if you feel that this message of unity is what the world needs right now, a super thanks is a beautiful way to fuel this work. Every contribution is a brick in the bridge toward a world without borders. The mafia tells you that nationalism is patriotic, but I tell you it is a disease. It is a form of spiritual blindness. When you are a patriot, you are choosing to love a small part of the earth and hate the rest. You are choosing to see some people as your brothers and others as enemies. But how can anyone be an enemy if we all come from the same source? How can there be an enemy if the same life force, the same sexual energy flows through all of us? The soldier is the ultimate victim of nationalism. He is a man who has been brainwashed into believing that his honor depends on his willingness to kill for a flag. But a flag is just a piece of cloth. To kill a living, breathing human being for a piece of cloth is the height of insanity. But this insanity is only possible because the soldier's heart has been hardened by years of sexual and emotional suppression. A man who knows the softness of love, the ecstasy of an orgasm, and the silence of meditation could never pull a trigger. He would see that the man in front of him is his own reflection. This is why I say that the transformation of sex into superconsciousness is the only way to end nationalism. When you reach superconsciousness, you realize that the ego is a lie. And when the ego dies, nationalism dies with it. Nationalism is just the ego on a larger scale. It is my nation instead of myself. But both are based on the idea of separation. In superconsciousness, there is no separation. There is only the one, pulsing energy of existence. In my book, Priests and Politicians, which you can find in our ebook collection linked below, I expose the exact mechanisms used by the mafia to keep the world divided. These books are essential reading for anyone who wants to understand why we are still fighting wars in the 21st century. They provide the intellectual and spiritual ammunition you need to fight back against the conditioning of the state and the church. When you purchase an e-book, you are not just reading, you are participating in the dismantling of the old world. The priest supports nationalism because it keeps the population in a state of constant fear, and fear is the priest's best friend. If you are afraid of the enemy, you will look for God's protection. You will pray for the victory of your side. You will go to the temple and ask for the destruction of the others. The priest is happy to oblige because every prayer is a confirmation of his power. He has turned God into a national asset. He has made God a soldier. But God's existence is not a soldier. Existence is a dance. It doesn't care about your flags. It doesn't care about your borders. The sun shines on everyone equally. The rain falls on everyone equally. Only man has created the fence, and the fence in the world is the reflection of the fence in your soul. When you stop suppressing your energy, the fence in your soul collapses. And when that fence collapses, you find that you belong to the whole universe. I see your comments, and I know that some of you are afraid of what a world without nations would look like. You worry about security. But look at the world today, full of nations and armies. Are you secure? Is the world safe? We have never been in more danger of total annihilation. Nationalism has not brought security. It has only brought more sophisticated ways of killing. True security comes only from love. True security comes only from the realization that we are one. If you want to be a part of the solution, share this video. Send it to the patriots you know. Send it to the people who are obsessed with borders. Let us challenge the mafia's narrative. Every share is a message to the universe that you choose love over hate and awareness over ideology. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to know, when was the first time you realized that your nation was just a story you were told? The mafia of the soul uses your sexual frustration as a fuel for national pride. When a man is sexually hungry, he is easily provoked. He is easily made to feel that he is undervalued. The politician then tells him, "You are a great American," or "You are a noble German." This inflates his ego and gives him a temporary release from his misery. He is ready to die for the politician because the politician has given him a reason to live, even if that reason is a lie. But meditation gives you the real reason to live, the joy of your own being. When you are meditative, you don't need national pride. You are already proud of being a part of this existence. You don't need a flag to feel significant. Your significance is in every breath you take. This is the new man, the man who is free from the disease of nationalism because he has found the health of superconsciousness. Use the join button to help us reach more people with this vision. We are building a global network of rebels who are committed to a world based on consciousness, not on boundaries. Your monthly membership is a declaration that you belong to the future, not the past. And the super thanks is your way of saying that this specific realization has changed your perspective. It is a beautiful way to share your energy with this fountain of truth. The politician and the priest have divided the earth to conquer the human soul. They have made you a fragment so they can control you. But you are not a fragment, you are the whole. And the way to reclaim your wholeness is to reclaim your energy. Don't fight the mafia with their weapons. Fight them with your awareness. Fight them with your love. Fight them with your laughter. A man who is laughing at the absurdity of a border is a man who is already free. A man who is in love with a stranger is a man who has already destroyed the nation. A man who is sitting in silence, watching his own energy rise from sex to superconsciousness, is a man who has already won the war. As we move toward the next part, we will explore the global village of the conscious. We will look at how we can organize our lives without the need for the mafia. We will see how education, work, and community can be transformed by the light of meditation. And we will see how the rebel becomes the architect of a new humanity. Stay with me. We are not just talking, we are creating. The mafia is losing. The individual is winning. You are winning. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that you may become so free that no boundary can contain you, and so loving that no enemy can exist in your world. Finally, I bow to the Supreme enthroned in all of you. This global village is not a political dream. It is a spiritual necessity. For thousands of years, the mafia of the soul has kept you huddled in your small tribes, whispering that the people on the other side of the mountain are barbarians, infidels, or enemies. They have used your biological instinct for territoriality and turned it into a psychological prison called the nation. But a man who has transformed his sexual energy into super consciousness no longer feels like a part of a tribe. He feels like a part of the stars. He feels like a part of the wind. He is an individual, and only individuals can create a true global village. The crowd is the enemy of the soul. The crowd needs you to be a follower, but existence needs you to be a flow. The mafia knows that if they can keep you in the crowd, the national crowd, the religious crowd, the political crowd, they can keep you unconscious. And the easiest way to keep you in the crowd is to keep you sexually frustrated. A frustrated person is a dependent person. He needs the approval of the crowd to feel decent. He needs the rules of the priest to feel moral. But a sexually fulfilled, meditative person is independent. He doesn't care about the crowd's approval. He has his own approval, the approval of his own joy. If you are ready to step out of the crowd and into your own light, I invite you to click the join button below. Our community is a gathering of individuals who have decided to be citizens of existence. By becoming a member, you are supporting the infrastructure of this global village. You are helping us create a platform where the rebel voice can be heard above the noise of the mafia's propaganda. And for those who feel a deep resonance with this vision of a borderless world, a super thanks is a powerful way to say yes to the future. Your contribution helps us bypass the old systems and reach those who are still trapped in the nationalistic nightmare. Think about what happens to your energy when you are a part of a nation. You are taught to be proud of things you didn't do and ashamed of people you don't know. You are taught to be ready to kill and die for a national interest, which is usually just the interest of a few politicians and corporate bosses. This whole structure is built on your suppressed rage. If you were allowed to live your love totally, you would see that there is no other. You would see that the person you are told to hate is just another Zorba the Buddha waiting to be born. The mafia needs the nation state because it is the perfect mechanism for tax, for control, and for war. But the nation state is becoming obsolete. Technology has made the world a single unit, but our consciousness is still stuck in the tribal ages. We have 20th century technology and 10th century psychology. This is a recipe for disaster. We have the power to destroy the planet, but we don't have the awareness to save it. The only way to bridge this gap is through the rebellion of the individual. In my book, The Rebel, which you can find in our ebook collection linked below. I talk about how the new man will be the one who drops all labels. He will not be an American or a Russian. He will be a human being. He will not be a capitalist or a communist. He will be a creator. These ebooks are your tools for this transformation. They are not to be read with the mind, but to be absorbed by the soul. When you purchase an ebook, you are investing in your own deconditioning. You are buying your way out of the mafia's mental prison. The priest tells you that unity is a religious goal. But his unity always means everyone should join my religion. That is not unity, that is conquest. True unity is only possible through meditation. When you sit in silence, when you watch your energy rise from sex to the crown, you realize that there is only one consciousness in the universe. You are not one with the neighbor because you should be. You are one because you are. In that realization, the nation state simply evaporates. It becomes a ridiculous relic of a primitive past. I see your comments, and I know that you are worried about the chaos that might come without nations and governments. But I tell you, the order you have now is the order of the graveyard. It is an order maintained by guns and fear. The chaos of the rebel is the chaos of a dancing star. It is a creative, living, dynamic state. A world of conscious individuals would not need police because there would be no criminals. A criminal is just a man whose energy has been distorted by the mafia. If energy is allowed to flow naturally into love and awareness, crime disappears. If you are finding this vision of a nationless world inspiring, leave a comment below. Tell me, what would you do if there were no borders? Where would you go? Who would you love? Let us dream together. Your engagement helps this video find the people who are tired of the old walls. And please share this video. The politician wants to build walls. We are here to build bridges. Every share is a crack in the mafia's fortifications. The mafia of the soul uses your sexual energy as a battering ram against other nations. When they want a war, they start talking about national honor and protecting our women. It is all a sexualized propaganda. They use your repressed desire for protection and dominance and channel it into military aggression. But if every man and woman were sexually fulfilled, if they were living in an orgasmic connection with existence, they would laugh at the idea of national honor. They would say, "My honor is in my joy. My protection is in my love." Use the join button to help us create a global university of the soul. We want to create spaces where people from all over the world can come together to meditate, to dance, and to unlearn the lies of the mafia. Your monthly support is what makes this vision a reality, and the super thanks is your way of pouring your heart into this collective awakening. We are not asking for donations, we are asking for participation. The politician needs you to be a taxpayer first and a human being second. He needs you to fund his wars and his luxuries. But the rebel knows that his first responsibility is to his own consciousness. If you are conscious, you cannot be used. If you are aware, you cannot be bought. The mafia can only rule the sleeping. They cannot rule the awake. And the way to wake up is to bring the light of awareness into your most basic energy, the energy of sex. When sex is no longer a secret, no longer a sin, and no longer a shame, it loses its power to be manipulated. It becomes a simple, beautiful part of life. And from that simple foundation, the super consciousness can grow. A man of super consciousness is a global man. He is a universal man. He is the only man who can stop the wars, because he has stopped the war inside himself. As we move toward the next part, we will explore the new education for the new man. We will see how we can raise children so that they never become soldiers, never become sheep, and never become victims of the mafia. We will look at how we can replace instruction with enlightenment. Stay with me. The global village is not far away. It is as close as your next conscious breath. You are the pioneer of this new world. Don't look back at the mafia. Look forward into the light. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your heart may become as wide as the ocean, and your awareness as bright as the sun. Finally, I bow to the Supreme enthroned in all of you. This new education is not about filling the head with dead information, but about igniting the flame of awareness within the child's heart. For thousands of years, The mafia of the soul has used the school as its primary recruitment center. Have you ever looked at a school? It looks remarkably like a prison or a factory. There are bells that tell you when to move. There are uniforms that tell you who you are. And there is a teacher who acts as the warden of your mind. This is where the soldier is truly born. Before he ever touches a rifle, he is taught to obey the bell. Before he ever hates an enemy, he is taught to compete with his friend for a grade. The current education system is a process of systematic castration. It takes the vibrant, curious, rebellious child and turns him into a useful citizen. And what does useful mean to the politician? It means someone who will work without asking why, pay taxes without complaining, and go to war when the drum beats. To achieve this, the child's spirit must be broken. And the most effective way to break a spirit is to make the child feel ashamed of his own body and his own energy. This is why sex is never discussed in schools as a sacred life force. It is either ignored entirely or treated as a clinical biological function, stripped of all its poetry, its mystery, and its power to lead to superconsciousness. If you are a parent, or if you were once a child, and we all were, then you know the weight of this conditioning. I invite you to click the join button on this channel. We are building a new kind of university of the soul, where we unlearn everything the mafia taught us. By becoming a member, you are supporting the creation of educational resources that treat the human being as a whole, as a Zorba the Buddha. And if you feel that the children of the future deserve a better world than the one we were given, the Super Thanks feature is a beautiful way to contribute to this mission. Your support helps us keep this rebel education alive and free from the control of the state. The child is born a rebel. He is born a yes-sayer to life. He is full of laughter, full of questions, and full of energy. But the priest and the politician cannot handle that energy. They need the child to be docile. So they begin the long process of socialization. They tell the child that his sexual curiosity is dirty. They tell him that his natural aggression should be saved for the enemies of the nation. They divide him against himself. By the time he is 20, he is a house divided. He is ready to be a soldier because he is already at war with his own soul. In my book, The Rebel, which you can find in our ebook links below, I describe how we can create a new kind of human being who is immune to this indoctrination. This new education would have three pillars. The first would be the Jhorba, the education of the body, the senses, the dance, and the joy of sexuality. The second would be the scientist, the education of the mind, the logic, and the understanding of the physical world. And the third would be the Buddha, the education of the heart, the silence, and the meditation. These e-books are not just text, they are a manifesto for a new world. When you read them, you are helping yourself to wake up from the long sleep of the mafia's education. A true teacher is not someone who gives you answers. A true teacher is someone who gives you hunger. He is a midwife of the soul. He doesn't tell you what to think. He helps you discover how to see. In the global village of the conscious, education would be a lifelong celebration. There would be no exams, no grades, and no failures. How can a flower fail? How can a star be a C-grade star? The very idea of comparison is a political tool to create hierarchy and conflict. When you compare yourself to another, you are already on the path to war. The mafia wants you to compare yourself so that you will always feel less than. And when you feel less than, you are ready to follow a great leader. But the rebel knows that he is unique. He is not better than anyone, and no one is better than him. He is simply himself. This realization is the end of the politician. If you are satisfied with being yourself, the politician has nothing to offer you. He cannot bribe you with fame or power because you have found the ultimate power, the power of your own awareness. I see many of you in the comments sharing how much you hated your school days. Leave a comment and tell me, what was the specific moment you felt your creativity being crushed? What was the lie you were told that took you the longest to unlearn? Let us expose these educational factories for what they are. Your engagement helps this video reach the young people who are currently being crushed by the system. Share this video with a student, with a teacher, with a parent. Let us start a rebellion in the classroom. The mafia of the soul uses education to disconnect the heart from the sex center. They made the mind a tyrant over both. They teach you that the rational is everything and the emotional or sexual is a distraction. But a man of only mind is a monster. He is the one who designs the nuclear bombs. He is the one who calculates acceptable losses. To stop the war machine, we must reconnect the head, the heart, and the sex center. We must become integrated. This integration is the core of from sex to superconsciousness. It is the process of allowing the energy to flow from the roots to the flowers without any blockages. Use the join button to help us fund the creation of meditation centers that double as schools for the new man. We want to create environments where children can grow up without the shadow of the priest, where they can learn about love through experience, not through moral lectures. Your monthly support is the foundation of this dream, and the super thanks is your way of saying that you believe in a world where children are allowed to be Buddhas. The politician tells you that education is for getting a job. I tell you, education is for finding your life. A job is just a way to survive. Life is a way to thrive. If your education hasn't taught you how to love your own body, how to sit in silence, and how to feel the ecstasy of the present moment, then you are not educated. You are merely trained. You are a trained animal, ready to perform for the mafia. But it is never too late to detrain. Your meditation is your re-education. Every time you sit in silence, every time you watch your energy without judgment, you are undoing years of mafia programming. You are reclaiming your innocence. You are becoming a child again, but a child with the wisdom of an adult. This is the new man, the rebel who has seen through the lies of the school, the church, and the state. As we move toward the next part, we will explore the end of work and how a meditative society would approach creativity and survival. We will see how labor can be transformed into play, and how the mafia's economic system is just another form of sexual suppression. We will look at how we can create a world where everyone is a creator and no one is a slave. Stay with me. The light of the new dawn is getting stronger. You can feel it in your heart. You can feel it in your energy. You are not a cog. You are a creator. You are not a number. You are a miracle. Remember that as you step out of the mafia's shadows. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your life may become a continuous process of unlearning, and your soul a clear mirror of the divine. Finally, I bow to the Supreme enthroned in all of you. This shift from training to transformation naturally leads us to the very structure of our daily lives, the world of work. For 5,000 years, the mafia of the soul has convinced you that labor is a curse or a duty. They have made your survival dependent on your submission to a system that drains your energy and leaves you too exhausted to think, too tired to love, and too depleted to meditate. This is the economic side of sexual suppression. Have you ever noticed that the most boring, repetitive jobs are the ones that society rewards the most? This is because a man who is creatively fulfilled is as dangerous as a man who is sexually fulfilled. A creator cannot be a slave. The current economic system is designed to keep you in a state of work, frustration, release. You work 5 days a week in a job you hate, doing things that have no meaning for your soul. By Friday night, you are a bundle of repressed energy. And then the society provides the release: alcohol, loud music, and a hurried, desperate kind of sex. This weekend release is a safety valve designed to prevent you from exploding. It is a way to keep the soldier of the economy ready for Monday morning. The mafia doesn't want you to find joy in your work, because if you found joy, you wouldn't need their release. You would be a Zorba every day of the week. If you are beginning to see how your life energy is being harvested by this system, it is time to join the rebellion. Click the join button below. Our community is exploring how we can move toward a world where work is replaced by creativity and labor is replaced by play. By becoming a member, you are supporting the vision of a humanity that is no longer a collection of wage slaves, but a garden of creators. And if you want to help us keep this flame of truth burning against the cold winds of the mafia's economy, a super thanks is a beautiful way to share your energy. Your support allows us to remain independent and continue this work of deprogramming the human mind. In a meditative society, there would be no work as we know it. There would only be creativity. A man would paint because he loves colors. A woman would garden because she loves the earth. Someone would build because they love the harmony of structures. When your work is your love made visible, it is no longer work, it is a meditation. But the mafia cannot tax meditation. They cannot control a man who is happy in his creativity. So they have separated livelihood from life. They have made you a professional, which is just a fancy name for a specialist who has lost his wholeness. Look at the mafia of the soul's obsession with productivity. Why must we produce so much? Most of what we produce is either for destruction, the bombs and the tanks, or for distraction, the endless gadgets and luxuries that we don't need. This production-consumption cycle is the external mirror of your suppression explosion cycle. Because you are empty inside, because you are sexually and spiritually starved, you try to fill the hole with things. The politician loves this because it keeps the economy moving, and the priest loves this because it keeps you feeling materialistic and guilty, which makes you a perfect candidate for his spirituality. In my book, Priests and Politicians, which you can find in our ebook links below, I describe how this economic trap is a form of spiritual murder. We are sacrificing our lives, the only thing we truly have, for pieces of paper and plastic. These ebooks are your tools for reclaiming your time and your energy. They are guides for the rebel who wants to live outside the mafia's factory. When you buy these books, you are saying that your soul is not for sale. You are investing in your own freedom. The mafia tells you that idleness is the devil's workshop. I tell you, idleness is the door to God. By idleness, I don't mean laziness. I mean the capacity to sit in silence and do nothing, to just be. A man who can do nothing is a man who has found his own center, and from that center, any action that arises will be creative, will be loving, and will be a blessing to the world. But a man who is always doing, always working, always producing, is just a machine running on the fuel of frustration. This frustration is the source of all violence. If you are not allowed to be creative, you will become destructive. Destruction is the creativity of the frustrated. When you cannot create a poem, you want to break a window. When you cannot create a life, you want to start a war. The mafia channels this destructive energy into their national interests. They take the man who is bored at his desk and they give him a gun and tell him he is a hero. And for a moment he feels alive. The tragedy is that he only feels alive when he is dealing in death. If you are tired of this deal, leave a comment below. Tell me, what would you create if you didn't have to work for a living? What is the hidden talent that the mafia's economy has tried to crush? Let us celebrate our potential together. Your engagement helps this video reach those who are on the verge of burning out, those who are tired of the rat race. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their life is worth more than their paycheck. The mafia of the soul uses your security as a lease. They tell you that if you don't follow their economic rules, you will starve. But I ask you, isn't your soul already starving? Isn't your heart already emaciated? We have created a world where we have everything and nothing at the same time. We have conquered the moon, but we haven't conquered our own misery. This is because we have tried to solve a spiritual problem with an economic solution. The only solution is the transformation of your energy. When you move from sex to superconsciousness, your needs become very simple. You no longer need to possess the world because you already are the world. You no longer need to compete because you know you are unique. A meditative society would be a society of abundance, not because we produce more, but because we need less garbage to feel significant. We would share what we have because in sharing, the joy is doubled. Use the join button to be a part of the creative commune. We are supporting initiatives that move away from the traditional employer-employee relationship and toward a circle of creators. Your monthly membership is a vote for a world where play is the highest value. And the super thanks is your way of saying that you value the light over the luxury. We are building a new economy, an economy of the soul. The transition from sex to superconsciousness is the end of the worker and the birth of the creator. A creator is a man who brings the quality of his meditation into his work. If he is a carpenter, he makes the chair as if it were a temple. If she is a cook, she makes the food as if it were a prayer. This quality of Tantra, the merging of the mundane and the divine, is the only way to heal our world. It is the only way to stop the mafia from using our frustration to fuel their wars. A creator cannot be a soldier because he knows the value of creation. He knows how much love and awareness it takes to build a beautiful thing, and he will not be a part of its destruction. He will not destroy another human being because he sees in that human being another potential creator. The mafia wants you to be a destroyer because it keeps them in power. I want you to be a creator because it makes you a god. As we move toward the next part, we will explore the science of silence and how we can practically use meditation to dismantle the mafia's noise in our heads. We will look at specific techniques to ground the Zorba and awaken the Buddha. We will see how the internal priest can be invited to leave and the internal beloved can be invited to stay. Stay with me, we are almost home. The factory walls are falling and the garden of existence is waiting. You are not a worker, you are a wonder. You are not a slave, you are a song. Remember that. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your creativity may become a flame that lights up your life, and your joy a dance that heals the world. Finally, I bow to the Supreme, enthroned in all of you. And so we arrive at the final threshold of our journey together. The threshold where the soldier of the old world finally dissolves and the Buddha of the new world is born. This is the moment of the great synthesis. For too long, humanity has been divided between the earth and the sky, between the sex and the soul. But I tell you, the sky cannot exist without the earth, and the soul cannot exist without the sex. They are the two wings of the same bird. The mafia of the soul has tried to clip your wings, to keep you grounded, to keep you small, to keep you useful for their wars and their greed. But you were born to fly. This silence of the soul that we have discussed is not the silence of the graveyard. It is a silence that is vibrating with music. It is the silence of an orgasm that has become eternal. It is the super consciousness where you are totally aware, yet totally at one with everything. When you reach this state, the politician can no longer find you because you have no ego to be manipulated. The priest can no longer find you because you have no guilt to be exploited. You are free. You are the rebel. If this journey has touched something deep within you, if you feel that your life will never be the same again, then I invite you to make this connection permanent. Click the join button below and stand with us as a pillar of the new humanity. By becoming a member, you are not just supporting a channel, you are participating in the birth of a new era. And if you want to leave a final gesture of gratitude for the light that has been shared here today, the Super Thanks feature is a beautiful way to say your final thank you to the universe. Your support is what allows us to keep the fire of truth burning in a world of darkness. As you step away from this video and back into the world, remember that the mafia is everywhere. They are in the newspapers, they are on the television, they are in the laws, and they are in the voices of your conditioning. But they are not you. You are the watcher. You are the witness. Keep your awareness sharp. Every time you feel the pressure to be decent, to be obedient, to be nationalistic, just watch it. Watch it and laugh. Your laughter is your greatest weapon. It is the only thing the mafia cannot stand. In our final selection of ebooks, which you can find in the links below, I provide the ultimate meditations for this transformation. These are the keys to the kingdom. Read them, practice them, live them. When you purchase an e-book, you are bringing the master into your own home. You are creating a sanctuary of silence in the middle of the noise. Don't just watch this video, become the realization. The transition from no sex equal to war to super consciousness equal to peace is a transition that only you can make. I cannot do it for you. No priest can do it for you. No government can pass a law to make you enlightened. It is an individual rebellion. It is a decision to stop being a part and start being the whole. It is a decision to stop fighting your own energy and start dancing with it. I see your comments below, and I am moved by your courage. This community is a miracle. In a world that is preparing for a third world war, we are preparing for a third world consciousness. Leave one last comment. What is your commitment to your own awakening? What is the one thing you will stop suppressing today? Let your words be a vow to yourself. And share this video one last time. Let it be your gift to a world that is starving for love. The politician and the priest are ancient, but they are tired. They are the past. You, the Jhorba, the Buddha, the rebel, you are the future. And the future is not something that will happen. It is something that is happening right now in your awareness. There is no need for soldiers when there are lovers. There is no need for nations when there is a global village of the soul. There is no need for God when there is godliness. This is my message to you. Live. Live totally. Live intensely. Love without fear. Meditate without effort. And never ever let the mafia of the soul tell you that you are anything less than a god in hiding. Reclaim your sexual energy, transform it into love, and let that love blossom into the super consciousness that is your birthright. I am grateful for your patient and peaceful attention. You are all very kind. I desire that your life may become a continuous celebration, a song of joy that echoes through the universe. Finally, I bow to the Supreme, enthroned in all of you. Go with my love and my blessings. The light is within you. Be the light. Goodbye. And don't forget to subscribe to our shared journey toward the ultimate truth.